Everybody, welcome back to my channel. I am Adorkable Rachel, and it's time for another episode of Rachel Reviews, so let's just hop into it. The newest film in the Disney live-action, remake, reboot, reimagining, whatever you want to call it, is Christopher Robin, which is, of course, a sequel to the beloved Winnie the Pooh properties, which we have loved since the inception of cuteness. I have always loved Winnie the Pooh. I mean, who hasn't? And I even still have the original book of Winnie the Pooh stories that I have had since Christmas of 1994. See? Christmas 1994. I still have it because, I mean, sometimes you just need to escape back to childhood. I mean, we just have to sometimes. And wouldn't you know it, that's also the theme of this movie. Why am I not surprised? And before we get started, this episode is brought to you by Stardust, the free app that allows you to share reactions to movies, TV shows, and trailers. In the new film, Christopher Robin, played by Ewan McGregor, has grown up and started his own family, having not seen Pooh Bear or any of his other friends in the 100-acre wood for the past 30 years. But then one day, while Christopher Robin's wife and daughter are on holiday, Winnie the Pooh finds his way to Christopher Robin, much to the older man's surprise. And from there, there's a lot of what you would expect. Winnie the Pooh causes trouble, Christopher Robin is annoyed but charmed by his antics, the two personalities clash a bit, and Christopher Robin also tries to get Winnie the Pooh back to the 100-acre wood, while also learning about the value of family and, of course, the simple things in life. So, based on the trailers alone, did you also get the idea that this was going to be a movie about a father who neglects his family because of work, but then spends a good majority of the movie figuring out his mistakes? Cause that's what this movie is! And if you think that Disney has done this plot over and over and over again to death, you're 100% right. And if you are so sick of that plot, then it's possible that this might take you out of the movie a little bit. However, I'm a little split because even though this is probably the most cliche scenario used in any family movie ever, it's actually done pretty well here. Obviously, if you're a film goer, you're gonna see the same plots used over and over again, and that can get really annoying. But for me, and I think for most people, it does kind of tend to boil down to, is it done in a different kind of unique way? And also, do they do it in a way that's not forced? And here, thanks to the characters and the setup, I think that it is done pretty well. Let me explain. We have Ewan McGregor in the title role, and first of all, Ewan McGregor is a fantastic actor. He's one of the few people that made the prequels of Star Wars really bearable to watch, and in this movie alone, he just plays the role with such beautiful charisma, and he just gets so into it. He's a young boy who had to grow up. He fell in love with a beautiful woman, they got married, they had a cute child, and also through a really well-paced opening montage, we learned that he's also gone through a couple of steps in his life that make it really understandable as to why he lost touch with his childhood. It is brief, sure, and I'm not gonna say what exactly it is that happens, but it does kind of make sense. And then when the movie starts going, we get to the real meat of his conflict, which is not just that he's spending time away from his family, but if you've seen the trailers, you saw the part where he was told he has to stay over the weekend instead of go on holiday with his family, and that seems really, really typical in a lot of family films, but they don't touch on, this is in the movie, they don't touch on the fact that actually his boss tells him that if they don't find a way to cut costs over the weekend, they're gonna have to start firing people. And that actually raises the stakes a lot more. And yeah, at this point in the film, I really do feel sympathy for this guy. I see the point of view of the family, but I also see his point of view. He's not just a neglectful person, he's trying so hard to balance everything, and it's really hard to do that. And then of course Winnie the Pooh comes around, and this is not only surprising for Christopher Robin, but we also see his uptight and stressed personality cross paths with Pooh's laid-back and simple-minded personality. Bringing these two together creates a really well-developed but also really believably conflicting dynamic, and surprisingly, you do feel for both of them. I believed in Christopher Robin's need to get his work done, but then I also understood Pooh's point of view, and his influence ultimately leading to Christopher Robin finally playing again. And you know, it's also not like it's one of those plots where Pooh has all the answers and everything's okay, because actually some of Pooh's thinking does cause a lot of trouble. And he does actually suffer some consequences, the poor little guy. This movie isn't just about like, oh, forget work, forget all that stuff, forget about everything, just be a child again. No, it it actually does touch on how it really is important to be an adult. You have responsibilities and you have things that you need to do and take care of. But it's all about being able to understand that once in a while you should get away from all that and embrace the things that are important in life. Yeah, I know it's cliche, they've done that in a lot of other movies, but it just, again, it made sense in this scenario. And it felt like it really worked this time around because the acting and the chemistry between our leads was just so strong. That, and it was also a pretty well-paced story. Granted, it does go a little downhill in the third act, and we'll touch on that a little later, but bottom line, the first act and the second act, I thought those were great. And all the characters that we love are here too. Pooh, Tigger, Piglet, Rabbit, Kangaroo, Owl, and of course Eeyore. And I mean, bless his heart, Eeyore. He's like the most likable emo ever. And this movie made me really happy because Eeyore actually had a much bigger part to play than I was expecting him to. And Disney must know how much we love Eeyore because he has like 80% of the funny lines in this movie. It made me really happy that a character who constantly feels neglected was actually kind of front and center in this movie a lot of the time. Now this is a little nitpicky, but I still feel like I need to touch on it. I don't understand why in this movie a lot of the characters' voices sounded so different. Now obviously the Winnie the Pooh properties of Disney have been around for a really long time, and yeah, voice actors are gonna change, it's inevitable. But over the years, Disney has made a really clear effort to try to make the new voices sound really close to the past renditions. Jim Cummings has been playing Pooh Bear and Tigger for the past 30 some odd years, and the character does sound very similar to the first Winnie the Pooh. But Piglet, Rabbit, and Owl in particular really don't sound at all like the characters that we're used to. And again, I know this is nitpicky, but why? If you're going to make the effort to have Jim Cummings come back in and play Pooh and Tigger, then why didn't you get all the actors from like the 2011 film to come in and voice these characters? Which all of which did a great job, by the way. I mean, in this movie, if Pooh and Tigger did sound different just like everyone else, then I think I would have probably been okay with that. It's a different kind of rendition. I get it. I don't understand why they went out of their way for certain characters, but then they just didn't really seem to bother with a bunch of the other characters. Just as a diehard fan, it was a little distracting. And going back to what I was saying earlier about the third act kind of going downhill, there's something else that I kind of want to touch on. For as long as I can remember, I've always kind of figured that the friends Christopher Robin made in the 100-Acre Wood were kind of like his childhood imaginary friends. They're like figments of his imagination. You know, they represent the innocence of childhood. So why later in the movie do we kind of establish that they're actually real? I mean, you really have to see this movie to see what it is I'm talking about, but we kind of find out that when Pooh comes into our world that he actually is a walking, talking being, and other people besides Christopher Robin can hear him and see him. And it's not like I'm giving away any spoilers because this was featured heavily in the trailers. I'm really curious about this. Does this mean that there are other kids that found these characters? Are there other characters out there that kids have found in the 100-Acre Wood universe? Is the 100-Acre Wood like a different dimension? And furthermore, wouldn't that mean that Christopher Robin literally abandoned his friends? This raises so many questions. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking too hard about it, but I always figured that the 100-Acre Wood was like a state of mind, and they're real now? So yeah, this movie, it's a little bit of a mixed bag. It's really gonna depend on whether or not you're able to stomach the cliches and if you can suspend your disbelief despite the circumstances. But overall, I really liked it. It's got some stuff in there that's gonna be distracting, sure, but what really did win me over was the really delightful characters, the surprisingly evenly paced narrative, for the most part, and also just those little moments in the movie that just let you breathe in the moment. Also, you may or may not have noticed that the characters can look a little creepy at first, being kind of like this live action CGI hybrid, but overall they didn't really bother me that much. And actually, to be perfectly honest, I was totally fine believing most of the time that those characters were really there. Most of the time. Is this movie predictable? Yeah, absolutely. And could they have done something a little more original with this concept? Yeah, of course. And you know, maybe I could have even found a way to include a little bit more of the original stories of Winnie the Pooh, but as someone who's been a little bothered by the pointlessness of a lot of these reimaginings, I have to say that this is the one that I think I've personally enjoyed the most, and also feels like the most warranted for existence. And even though it doesn't really have a story like the original Winnie the Pooh stories, it's called Christopher Robin at the end of the day. It's from a different point of view. Plus, I really like seeing these characters, and I liked seeing them in a different setting, and I really liked seeing them work off each other. We just want to see these characters interact, okay? That's all we want. And that's what we get. And not gonna lie, I also really enjoyed the nostalgic feels it gave me. Plus, the movie does have a really nice score and it's shot really well, and if you grew up with these characters, seeing them with an older Christopher Robin is actually kind of endearing. Christopher Robin, to me, is probably one of the better reimagining live-action films of Disney, and if you're into that clichéness, or even if you're not, I still think it's at least a good watch one time. It's really charming, it's really hard to not smile, and who knows, you might even cry. If you're gonna watch any of these new remake films, then this is probably the best one to start with. So those are my thoughts on Disney's Christopher Robin, and now here are this week's Stardust users and their thoughts on the film.
Delightful. I absolutely loved this movie. It brought a big smile to my face. I cried pretty much from the beginning.
All the characters of 100 Acre Wood are pretty humorous and they bring levity to the whole film. The art direction is simplistic but effective, but the movie itself is fine.
And woozles, cadoozles, but okay, I'll stop. That's the Heffalump song. If you don't know it, that's the Heffalump song.
It's a great movie. Like, just at the start, it got me tearing up a little bit. And it was really nice to see how Christopher Robin was doing his life when he loved Pooh and his friends.
And if you're not already familiar with Stardust, it's a free app you can download that lets you react to movies, TV shows, and trailers under 30 seconds. And it's the easiest and fastest way to share your video reaction online. I use it every day to react to all kinds of movies and shows, both new and old. And whenever I see a new film, I always share my thoughts on this app first. So if you want to see those videos, or watch other reactors, or even post your own reactions, then be sure to follow the link in the description down below, and be sure to follow me, Adorkable Rachel. Also, if you want a chance to appear in the next compilation, then be sure to follow me on Twitter when I announce when the next opportunity will be, so you can tag me in one of your next reactions. So now I want to know, what did you guys think of Christopher Robin? Also let me know, what Disney movie do you want to see get remade into live action, and are there any other trailers or movies or TV shows coming out soon that you want me to review? Well, go ahead and leave your comments below, be sure to like and share, and if you're new and like what you saw here, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and also be sure to hit the little bell button down there to get notified when new stuff comes out, because I make new videos every week! Bye, Adorkable Buddies! I'll see you soon!